So I want to welcome everyone to this afternoon's presentation or to this evening's presentation. Thank you all for coming. We are, as always, very delighted to welcome back Sola for his second presentation in his Mythic Medicine series. And today we're doing presentation number 2, Carrying the Fire. And with that, I turn it over to you, Sola.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I've been anticipating this in many different ways. I've anticipated it through meditation. I've anticipated this moment walking in the woods. I've anticipated this moment just as I fall asleep, in that moment in between sleep and wakefulness, kind of liminal, that liminal moment. And carrying the fire. So today I'm going to focus mainly on the concept of faith. And when I say faith, I'm not really referring to a particular religious faith, but more the way of being that admits no uncertainty in terms of the fulfillment of a sense of purpose. So it's that kind of faith, and that kind of faith can manifest in many different ways. I actually wrote something pertaining to faith, so I'm just going to read out what I meant as an invocation for this moment. So faith is a transformative force. We've, all of us, or most of us, heard of the boy who plugged the dike in Holland, Baz, of the lawyer who peacefully caused the British to leave India, of the man whose dream initiated the desegregation of schools in the USA. All of them ushered in transformations through the power of faith. And if this is possible at a societal level, then what is possible at the individual level for you, for us, through faith? Indeed, what is possible in this group of human beings through the transformative power of faith? Now, before I continue in the thread of faith, I'd just like to waken us up a little bit. And in order to do that, I'm going to ask us, invite us all to engage in a little bit of body percussion. And I'm going to lead you in something that is going to be very simple, and you can't get it wrong, because as long as you are taking the journey with us, you are already participating in the way that you need to be. So I'm gonna just move to gallery for a second, just so that I can see you all, and therefore not feel like I'm by myself doing this. And the way we'll do it is, you can remain seated, and in a second, I'm gonna clap on the one of a 4-beat rhythm, and you follow me so that we all clap on that beat. So I'm going to clap on the one of a 4-beat rhythm, and clap, 2, 3, and 2, 3, and I'm going to add something else now. And going to add another thing. And 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. and okay, excellent. I hope that you all feel a little bit warmer now. And we have begun the journey of today by metaphorically walking in rhythm together. And rhythm is, as you probably are aware, a wonderful way of getting in sync with other humans. And indeed, in many of the indigenous cultures of the world, being in rhythm together is one of the ways in which people connect. Actually, that term indigenous is an interesting one, really, because is there anybody here who is not indigenous to the planet Earth? If you feel you're not indigenous to the planet Earth, could I just see a quick show of hands of those who are not indigenous, non-indigenes to our planet? Because there is some contention around that word, which I imagine that for those of you in the US is probably sharper than those of us in other places, or in North America in general. It's probably sharper than in other places. In in Oceania, I suppose it may well be the same, where people who were there first have a relationship to the people that came after them that is contentious and can involve pain, hurt, and is often conflictual. And at the same time, the term indigenous, meaning origin from, is true of all of us in some way. It's just that at this time and space in the cycle of our planet, we might not know where we individually are indigenous to, but we can be sure in the knowledge that we are definitely indigenous to somewhere. So what I would like to do is very quickly go through the goals and agreements, which, if your memory is better than mine, you may well remember that you may be familiar with some of these since I used a few of them before. But goals for today: to use storytelling to explore and expand our understanding of the transformative power of faith, to harness the power of the group in the service of transformation, and to explore faith as part of our personal and group evolution. So those are the goals. That's what I'm aiming to do today, and where I'm hoping that we will go to. And if that's where we're going, how will we get there? So I have a set of agreements, and I always have these agreements, and we can add to them as we wish. So first of all, no put downs of self or others. And as I've said before, it's easy for us as adults not to put down each other. It's not so easy not to put down ourselves. So if we just speak to ourselves today firmly and allow ourselves to just be in the room, and if there's a voice that's saying, don't say that, don't do that. You're going to be so foolish if you do. Just be cool, just allow it, but don't act on it. Be willing to try new things. Some of the things we do today may be new, some may not. However, even if they're not, please approach it with a beginner's mind rather than already thinking that we know that, I know that, done it before, therefore I don't need to learn anything. Participate fully according to who you are and how you are. Some people will be more extrovert, some more introvert, maybe people have their videos off. It doesn't matter as long as you are participating fully according to how you are. Be willing to share your reflections. The wisdom is in the group, as we will see shortly. And lastly, be willing to have fun. And for me, part of doing the work that I do is because for me, it is actually fun. And when I say fun, I suppose that I could expand the term fun into the concept of joy, knowing that joy is an organizing principle. It impacts us neurologically, and I'm sure I don't need to tell you this as an energy healing school. It impacts us neurologically, it can make us feel better, it can actually impact those around us. So having fun is serious business. Okay, so is there anything else that any of you need in this space in order to feel fully present and to feel as though you can contribute? Are there any other things that you would like us all to agree to? And if they are, then please feel free to either say them or write them in the chat. And once I've got all the things that we need to agree to, we will then seal the deal and I'll move into telling you a story. No, okay. It's looking like everything that we have is already enough. Okay, so if we can agree to no put downs of self or others, to be willing to try new things, to participate fully, to share our reflections, and to have fun, then if we just put our hands into the square of the screen like this, and after 3, we'll clap together and we can say, Ashe. Ashe is Yoruba, and it means so be it, or it is. It is. Almost like amen, I suppose. So after 3, so we'll count 1, 2, 3, Ashe. Excellent. Okay, so as I explained to those of you who came last time, and as I will repeatedly say, African storytelling is in fact participatory. And therefore, although there is an audience, the audience in an African storytelling performance is part of the performance. And I hope sincerely that we one day can all meet up in the flesh, and then you'll get more of a sense of exactly what I mean by that. But even in the Zoom medium, we can still have some degree of engagement. So we'll begin with, when I say in a place far from here, I would like you to say, but near to there. Because of Zoom and the latency of the sound, it's probably better if you don't unmute to say that, because it will sound very strange and weird. But I'll be able to see if you're saying it, and don't feel compelled to say it either. But I would love it if you do. So, in a place far from here, but near to there. I said, in a place far from here, but near to there. I said, in a place far from here, but near to there. Tanaka was wandering the dust bowl of his land, Ire, searching for food. Hopelessly and listlessly, he walked many miles a day, looking for dried out fibrous roots that he would bring home, and he and his wife would try to boil some kind of food, nutrition into these roots. Tanaka despaired as he looked at his children and saw them evidencing the signs of that disease of lack known as kwashiorkor. It had not always been so in Ire. Tanaka remembered the times before when Ire was a fecund and fertile land, when the deep harbor of Ire was continuously populated by ships from all the lands known and unknown, hoping to profit from the bounty of Ire. And so it would have remained, if not for the ones that the people of Ire universally called the evil ones. You see, the evil ones coveted the lands of Ire and the bodies of the people to work their minds. And the evil ones came twice with war, but the people of Ire were peerless warriors and sent them back to the sea each time they came. But the third time they came with a dark and malevolent sorcery. And Tanaka still remembered the day when they cast their nefarious spell. It is said that in their far and distant land, the Northmen slaughtered 1,000 girl children until the rivers of their distant land ran red with blood. But whatever the truth, Tanaka remembered that day when the head sorcerer of the evil ones pointed into the sky, and as all looked up, they saw a dark, roiling cloud descending upon Ire, and Tanaka would never forget the vitriolic of the head sorcerer as he pointed up and said, "Behold your end! If we cannot have your lands and your bodies to work our minds, then you shall not have your lands either, and neither will your bodies be strong enough to work anywhere. Behold, despair!" And as the cloud descended, the head sorcerer pointed again and said, "Behold, the dark fume!" And his words were ended there and then with a well-aimed sword blow that took his head clean off. But the dark fume, the dark roiling cloud, still settled upon the earth, destroying the crops, the fecundity of the land, and weakening the limbs of the people so that they were unable to defend themselves further. And so Ire became a dust bowl, and Tanaka wandered the land of Ire in despair. Tanaka, though, had a child called Imani. And Imani was an irrepressible optimist. Imani in Arabic means faith. And just so you know, Imani is a unisex name. So I am not going to tell you whether Imani was a boy or a girl. It's up to you to decide, or even whether Imani was gender fluid. It's up to you to decide exactly that for yourself. So Imani was an irrepressible optimist. Imani thanks Tanaka for the dried out fibrous roots received as the results of his toil. And Imani decided that they were going to go and end the plight of Ire. And the very next day, without telling anybody, Imani set off along a dried out riverbed. Now, one thing that you should know about the people of Ire is that they could smell water. So although they starved, they did not thirst. And as Imani walked along the riverbed, Imani would stop from time to time and smell the water and dig and drink. So let's dig and drink together. So dig and drink. Yes, Baz, that's exactly how it goes. Dig and drink. I can see, Maja, that you are drinking as though you are thirsty. And so Imani continued along the dried out riverbed. And as I said, every so often would stop and dig and drink. Yes, Gundi, exactly like that, lineage. And after some time, Imani sat down, feeling a little bit tired, felt to drink water, so dug and drunk, but then smelt something else. It was a strange, smoky, spicy smell. And Imani dug deeper, and Imani's hand enclosed upon something. And as Imani raised their hand and looked and opened the hand, inside was a golden seed, a seed that was the size of a chestnut, but had the shape of a cowrie shell. And Imani noticed that there was a golden glow coming from the seed, and closed their hands upon the seed again. And as soon as Imani closed their hands on the seed, everything changed. Imani was no longer in the dust bowl of Ire, but instead was in a long valley, tree-lined, with flowers, wild flowers along the sides and in the grass. And at the very end of this long valley, Imani could see the curtain of a waterfall flowing off over a cliff and shielding what looked like the entrance of a cave. So Imani walked along and through the waterfall. It was so refreshing. And into the cave. And inside this cave was a circular cavern, crystalline from the floor, walls to the ceiling. And in the very center of this was a raised dais, upon which a figure was slowly materializing. It was an ebony black man with a white conical hat and a white robe. And this figure was levitating cross-legged above the dais. And Imani looked in astonishment, but felt no fear, for there was a harmonious vibration in this cavern that was reassuring, and in fact, made Imani feel a sense of peace. And the figure materialized and then looked at Imani and called Imani by name. Imani, what is it that you want here? Well, Well, elder father, I am hoping to save Ire. It seems to me that what you have in your hand there is the salvation of Ire. Let me see. And opening his hand, the seed flew from Imani's hand and into the elder's hand. And the elder spoke to the seed and listened to the seed and then passed the seed back and said, when you return to Ire, plant this seed in the center of your desecrated sacred grove, and all will be well. But I must warn you that the spell of the dirk, you know about the dirk fume? Yes, the spell of the dirk fume was cast by my twin brother and given to the head sorcerer of the ones that you call the evil ones. My twin brother will either come after you to prevent you from planting this seed, or will send something after you. You must not give in to fear. If you are afraid, hold the seed and say this magic word. Ashe, ashe, ashe. So can we all say the magic word together? Ashe, ashe, ashe. So Imani nodded. Imani did not feel confidence. After all, a figure as powerful as that which could materialize and levitate was coming after Imani. That did not give Imani confidence at all. But the golden seed did. And so Imani nodded and thanked the elder. And the elder pointed and said, that way. And Imani continued on the journey back into a system of caves and through a long tunnel. And Imani walked through this tunnel and could see in the distance a pinprick of light. So moved more quickly. And as Imani walked along this tunnel, Imani heard a sound behind. It was a kind of slithering sound and a growling sound. And Imani began to run, and the sound behind Imani sped up too. And Imani ran as fast as Imani could go and burst out of the tunnel and turned round and saw emerging from the tunnel a monstrosity, a slug-like creature that stood on two stubby legs and had two stubby arms with sharp sword-like claws and dagger-like teeth. And this monster breathed out acid, and the acid smoked on the ground where it dropped. And the monster spoke but one word. It pointed at Imani's hand and said, mine. And Imani said, no. Then this thing breathed an acidic gout of saliva directly into Imani's face. And Imani felt fear, but held the golden seed and said, aha, your energy key. I can see that you got that. Said, ashe, ashe, ashe. And as soon as Imani said, ashe, 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 Imani was no longer outside the cave. Instead, Imani found oneself in a whirlpool, spinning and spinning and spinning, and lost consciousness and awoke in a place of beautiful green vegetation, but that had a strange translucent quality about it. And when Imani spoke, Imani saw bubbles and realized that Imani was under the water, breathing. Imani saw some figures not too far and thought, I would like to go there. And as soon as Imani thought that, Imani was there and saw that these figures were people under the water too, people with tails, mermaids or merfolk. And Imani spent an interminable time swimming with them, playing with them, until the memory of purpose returned to Imani's mind. And Imani thanked them and held the golden seed and said the magic words, which were, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. And Imani found that Imani was now back in Ire, but before the dirt fume. And when Imani looked into the sky, Imani saw the dirt fume descending. Now every child in Ire had been taught to feel terror at the very thought of the dirt fume. They had all been told what it was like when the dirt fume came. And now Imani was there witnessing the descent of the dirt fume. Imani began to run, but it was to no avail, for the dirt fume, this cloud moved further, faster. And Imani could see within the cloud these imps, sprites with sharp teeth and sharp knives diving towards the ground, towards Imani. And these sprites began to cut Imani and bite Imani. So Imani was falling to the ground. Feeling fear, feeling terror, and was just about to give in to the fear and the terror of the situation when Imani remembered the golden seed and through a great exertion conjured the love that resided in Imani's heart and held the golden seed and with a last breath said, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Imani was back in Ire in the present time. Imani heard a voice. Imani, where have you been? It was Tanaka. Tanaka said, we have looked everywhere for you. Where have you been? Father, what I have in my hand, it's the salvation of Ire. I've been instructed. And Imani relayed the instructions. The Tanaka called the elders. They formed the Selka, those venerable women and men of Imani's people, stood in a circle around the center of the sacred grove, where Imani held the golden seed and pushed it into the ground and buried it, and then said the magic word, which was Ashe, 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 except because of the trials and tribulations that Imani had encountered. Imani said it more like this: Ashe! 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 And as soon as Imani finished, shoots began to pop out of the ground. Bloop, 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 bloop. All around them, they could see green shoots sprouting from the ground, and the dirt in the dark cloud began to rise out of the ground and hovering about head height. They could see within the cloud a lank, cadaverous figure that resembled the elder in the cave. And this figure pointed at Imani and said, no, as a fresh wind blew the figure and the dirt fume away as if it had never been. And the plants grew, the sweet rivers formed themselves back into the riverbeds. Trees grew laden with fruits and the fields full of ripened corn. And so Imani was responsible for the salvation of Ire. And as the elders say, faith combined with love is a transformative force. And it does not always take might to create a change. The end. Thank you. Thank you. That story is called The Golden Seed. And it's a seed that, it's a seed, it is a seed. It's a story that I wrote when I was contemplating what faith actually is. And I was in a time when I was struggling with being faithful that in this world in which we live, we can still thrive. Because we are in a time where we are acting as though we have infinite resources to extract from what is a finite planet. We are educating our children to believe that regurgitation of facts is more important than their own well-being, than their ability to form generative, loving relationships, than their compassion and their empathy. These are not the subjects on any high school curriculum that I am aware of, although they may be, for I wouldn't claim universal knowledge. But certainly I go into a lot of schools in the UK and I've never seen that as a curriculum item. I have seen well-being days where people will get all the young people to do tasters in mindfulness, tasters in this, tasters in that, but it's not integrated. So although the young people will do 5 minutes of mindfulness, that's it, until the next well-being day the next year. So I am interested in the inquiry around faith. Sarah said, all we need. Would you like to say something more about that, Sarah? What is all we need? Faith.
Yeah, I was referring about faith and love. It's very simple, but I feel it's all we need right now, especially right now where I feel so much is going on in our field, energetically, astrologically, or whatever you want to call it. Waking up in the morning and just having that, connecting with that faith, with that love, and just being together in community and reminding us and each other that we are here for each other. I think it's simple, but then definitely all we need right now.
Yeah.
So thank you for the reminder and for that.
And thank you also for the clarity that came through your explanation. What I would like to do is to think a little bit about faith, about love, and about compassion, particularly in relation to each of us here. And what I thought I would do was a visualization, a very short mindfulness type of visualization. So what I would ask for you to do is to just make yourselves comfortable and sit so that your back is straight, so that you're supported, and in a way that if you're on the chair, you won't fall off the chair, just in case you go to sleep. And in this visualization, I'm going to speak a few things with the intention of painting pictures with words. And what I would say is that there is no way to get this wrong. You might not follow me. I might say, we're on a mountain and you see yourself in an ocean or in a shop. Wherever you see yourself, it's fine. That's just what your mind wants to do in its processing right now. Some people see in glorious technicolor, some only see black and white, some don't see anything. Some people hear and feel instead of seeing. However your experience manifests is fine, is perfect in this time. So I would ask you to just begin, to close your eyes if you feel comfortable to do so, or to soften your focus, and just begin to pay attention to the feeling, the felt sensation of the breath in your nostrils as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Just notice that you can feel your breath in your nostrils. Indeed, you always can, but you might not notice it. So bring attention and notice that sensation. And if your mind wanders, just gently, without blame, bring it back to focusing on the felt sensation. And you can notice that as you breathe in and breathe out, you can also feel the sensation of your breath in your throat and in your nose or mouth if you're breathing through your mouth at the same time. And perhaps as your breath becomes deeper, you can also feel it in your belly, in your throat, and your nose or mouth at the same time. You might also notice that you can feel your arms hanging from your shoulders, that you can feel the clothes on your skin. You can feel where your body is resting, the weight of your body as you breathe in and breathe out. And with each out breath, perhaps you can feel your body becoming increasingly relaxed. As you breathe out, your body becoming increasingly relaxed. And now I'm going to ask you to imagine that you have a golden seed in your hand. Just look at that seed, feel it. Is it warm? Is it cool? How does it feel? How does the gold look? Is it a glow? Is it that the seed itself is a gold color? Maybe raise it to your nose and sniff it. What does it smell like? Is there any sound coming from it? And do you know that this seed is a magical seed, and that when you close your hands on this seed, it will take you to a place that is sanctuary for you, a place in your own mind that is sanctuary for you. And so now I'm going to ask you to close your hand on the seeds and see where it takes you. And are you inside or outside? Look around you, see what's around you, or somewhere else. What can you hear? What can you feel where you are? How does it feel to be in this place of sanctuary? Perhaps it's a place you've been before. Perhaps it's somewhere you've never been. But here you are in this place of sanctuary. And perhaps whilst you're there, you can tune in to your body and see how you are feeling and where you are feeling in your body, where in your body you are feeling what you are feeling. And you can just take note of this. Still breathing in and out in your place of sanctuary. And perhaps you can take a moment to ask this question: what do I need to do in order to have more faith in my life? And just remain open for the answer to this question. Take a moment to listen and to feel into that answer. And now, take a moment to ask any question that comes to mind that you would like to have the answer to. And then listen and feel in to that answer. And the time has come for you to say goodbye to your place of sanctuary, or rather farewell, knowing that this place exists in your own mind and that you can revisit it anytime you feel. So once again, hold the golden seed, knowing that once you close your fist upon it, it shall take you back into the room where you are currently sitting. And now close your fist on the golden seed and come back into this space and this time where your body exists in this moment. You might take a moment to stretch. And just come back into the room. So, just look around and see how people look at the moment. See if you can sense the energy that is being emitted in this space at this time. And what I would love to do is to hear from some of you something about the experience that you just had as you traveled into your place of sanctuary. So first of all, did you get to a place that seemed like sanctuary? And if you did, would you be willing to say something about what that place was or what it was like? And that can be anybody. I'll just go into gallery view again so I can see you. Is there anybody who would like to share? And you can also share in the chat as well, if that's less confronting.
So I was surprised
please.
about, sorry.
I found myself deep in the woods with old and ancient trees, with rocks covered with moss, green moss, and there was silence, and it was like the trees would whisper above and communicate. They were in sync. And with the first question about what the message I got was, listen to the old ones. Listen to the old ones. And I don't really know what that, it's a cryptic message to me, which I need to hold dear and perhaps to return to that sanctuary. It felt like I needed to patiently wait and for the listen to the old ones to reveal itself. Thank you. If you have any input, I would be glad to hear.
Yes, I do, in the sense that I have my own take on what you said. But I think that the key thing is that because it's you that experience this, it remains for you to find a deeper meaning in it for yourself. But I will say this, and that is that we live in a world and in a time where, although, as I said before, we don't really train our young people in deep or meaningful ways to some degree, we still, we value youthfulness, at least externally, more than we do age. So that now the elder has become the old person and is no longer an elder, no longer a source of wisdom. So perhaps it's saying that if there are old people in your life, maybe they carry a wisdom unlooked for. And at the same time, each one of us is a child of ancestors. And those ancestors are the elders in the spiritual realm, if you like. They are the ancient ones. And perhaps you might find ways of communicating with them. And in fact, I would say that finding your sanctuary is one of the ways of communicating with what we in Africa would call ancestors, but that you might call guardian angel or a spiritual intuition, whatever term it is that you use. But that is one way to interface with that, if that's of any help to you. Sandy said, my sanctuary changed a couple of times. A gorgeous garden, the woods, and a small beach. They all felt equally safe and relaxing. Purim, and if I mispronounce your name, please make sure that I know, said, love and trust and actions. I found myself in an art studio. Thank you for your beautiful story and meditation. Thank you for allowing me to share it with you. I have a question, a quick question, Randall. When I go back into gallery view, can you all still see me as if I'm in speaker view, or do I affect it when I go into gallery view? So you can still see me as in speaker view. Oh, that's great. That's great. That means that I can see you as well, without spoiling the effects in a sense. I'm also wondering, does anybody have anything to add on the question I just asked?
Sola, I was wondering what's my place actually meant for me. So, do you see me?
Not at the moment. I think you may be on a different window.
Okay.
Speaker. Oh, is that you, Baz? Okay, yeah.
Yes,
I can see you. Uh-huh.
So I felt one of those Pirates of the Caribbean, actually. I was also on the beach. I was surrounded by gold and treasures, which surprised me because I'm not materialistic at all. And I felt really like on a Jamaican beach, like there was a sound like reggae music, like a bar at the background, and the sea was so calm and was perfect. And I really felt connected with the gold, which was a surprise to me. So I was wondering what it showed me.
Well, what I would say is when you are in that liminal space, that space in your imagination, that space where you deliberately go somewhere and ask questions relating to wisdom, I think it's wise to consider that everything that you see or experience is symbolic. So is the gold actually gold? That's a question that I would put back to you. Is it actually material gold? Yes, it was. You saw material gold. But what is the meaning of that gold? Treasure. So if you find treasure in your dreams or in your visualization, what does that treasure actually mean to you? And especially given that it's in a scenario that is calm and with water, deep water, the depths of the unconsciousness right there. And you're on the beach where the water, the sea has, in relationship to the beach, the sea washes onto the beach, and there is this treasure on the beach. So what is the treasure to be found in your own subconscious mind, in your own unconscious mind? Perhaps that is the meaning of what you saw. But I want to make it clear to everybody that I will never say my name is Guru Sola, the all-knowing and all whatever person. I'm making suggestions. And if they don't rhyme with you, then that's fine. Because you are the person who is best placed to understand the wisdom of your own mind. So perhaps what I would say, Baz, that I feel is true, is that perhaps it's worthy of further investigation in that space.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Sola.
You're most welcome. I saw there was somebody else that had their hand up. So if I take one more, it was, yeah, hi.
It was me.
Your energy keys, Helena.
Yes. Sanctuary, actually, I have a sanctuary, which is my bed. And I went first of all to that immediately because it's what I use as my sanctuary. But from there, I went to a dream which I've had, which is that I'm in an old grey wooden shack on a hillside, which is surrounded by lots of white stones. And inside the shack is a blackboard with some equations on the board. That's what it took me to. And I have no idea why I go there, but that's why I'm going there, where I go there. That's the reason. And the answer to the question, it came to me with faith and belief, anything is possible.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That particular journey, it's fascinating to me, actually, particularly because both Stephen Hawking and Einstein felt that equations somehow encapsulated the substance of the universe. So they felt that maths was not just maths, but actually was verging on being a spiritual science. So it's very interesting that you find equations, and I wonder what they actually suggest, what they actually mean. But what comes to mind is humans have always been symbolists, and our earliest ancestors spoke and painted in symbols. And those symbols were expressions of what was in their hearts and in their minds, but were also what came from a space that actually elevated their consciousness. So I'd be really interested if you are perhaps over the following week, if you get any insights on, if you meditate on those symbols, perhaps on the blackboard. Okay. And the fact that it was a blackboard, which suggests something to do with education, perhaps for you. If you meditate on that and see whether you come up with any insights. And also, I would say that the people here also can suggest what comes to you in terms of insights relating to what other people share. Because the wisdom is in the room.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
You are most welcome. You really are. So now, what I would like to do now is to continue with investigation, but I would like to give you the opportunity to share together. And what I would ask you to do, and if Randall, if you can arrange people in, can you do pairs?
Sure, whatever you want. Yeah. Pairs, triads, yeah. Whatever.
Oh, excellent. Right, if you can put people into pairs, and before they go, what I would like you to discuss in your pairs is this question. or statement. One time when I was confronted and felt out of my depth, and how I solved that. Now, what I would say to you is, if you're about to share something that's going to take you into an unresolvable trauma, don't share that experience, because we don't have the bandwidth here to be able to actually help you with that. So try to find something that is relatively, you've already resolved to some degree, and that it won't send you into a spiral if you share that. But the ask is to comment on one thing that took me out of my depth and how I resolved that. And if you choose a person A and a person B, and if person A talks for 2 minutes, person B, your job is to just listen. Please try to refrain from commenting and say, oh yes, I remember a time when, you just listen. Person B, after the 2 minutes, will then share their own story or experience. And person A will then just listen, and then we'll come back into the room and we'll do something else. Randall, are you able to time the breakout room as well, so that people know when the 2 minutes? I love this technology. Okay, so I'll see you in 4 minutes or so. And I hope you have a good conversation. All of you. It's so interesting. When I was a child, what we are doing right now was science fiction in those days. In fact, this is actually more advanced than the science fiction in the 70s and the 80s. You know, and so, yeah, I can see you nodding, Purim. It's actually, we're taking it for granted, but it is quite amazing. And for me, I give a lot of gratitude to this kind of technology, because after the year that we've had in terms of lockdowns and all the stuff that has happened, without Zoom, I would not really have communicated with my family very much. But because of Zoom, I've been able to talk to my mum, who's in a different city, who I'm not allowed to see, but I've been able to see her, and she's been able to see me. And that's been very important, I believe, for my mental health and for hers. So yeah, I'm just pausing to give gratitude for that, and to give gratitude that we are all in different places here, and yet we're all face to face, even if it's a square. Okay, so I hope that you were able to at least share something. Are there any thoughts that anybody wants to share arising out of that? And if so, please feel free. And you can either put them in the chat, or you can say whatever came up for you. If you want to, Hadil, would you like to share something?
Yes, I would like to share. It was really interesting, as you said, at the beginning of the group. It was totally different topic, my topic and the other lady topic, but it was all about breaking out of our fear. So it was amazing. Thank you.
You're most welcome. And I'm going to hold on to that, and you'll see why in a little while, breaking out of our fear. Anybody else? Okay. I didn't see anybody, so I'm going to assume that nobody wanted to. I think I just saw, oh, hello, who's that? Rev Jennifer Nelson raised her hand.
Yes, my hand is up. Hello. I shared with Cheryl, my partner, the wonderful, wonderful lady with whom I partnered, that I remember at around age 9, sleeping with my mother in the bed, and you can understand this is our culture sometimes allows that. We're just very close in our cultures. And literally at night, so I had this dream that I left my body and I traveled. And when I came back, I couldn't get back into my body. I could see my body on the bed. I wanted to touch my mother to say, I'm here, I'm here. I wanted to open my mouth. And I couldn't do it. And then when I did, I shared it with my mother. I said, oh my gosh. And she said to me, she said, my dear, when you sleep, sometimes the spirit travels. And when you're back, sometimes the body isn't ready to accept it yet. But she said it in such a loving way that it validated what had happened. And it was beautiful, but it was scary to begin with.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you. I actually have had a similar experience, but I didn't have anybody around at the time to say to me, don't worry, so on and so forth. So my experience of it was just terror, but real fear, until I started to learn more about that. But yeah, this is why, thank you for that, Rev Jennifer. That's why the visualization is powerful in the sense that although we're awake when we visualize, it's closer to a dream than our waking state. So it also carries some of the properties of dreaming, whereby we can leave our bodies. I mean, some people do this deliberately. That's their spiritual practice, where they do remote viewing and all kinds of things. Because I wouldn't want to say what the fullness of our potential as human beings is, but I would definitely say this, that we haven't even really begun to explore what is possible. And on that note, I wanted to also bring in some a flavor of racial justice into this conversation to a degree, because what has been recurrent for me over the past few weeks has been this sadness that we as humans together have such unending, almost limitless potential. The things that we are able to conceive of are mind-boggling and mind-blowing. And the gift of genius is not given to any one people. And each of us together as the people of this world actually have enough wisdom to live in real connection with each other, because of the practices of different versions of our ancestors in different places that, if applied today, can actually bring respite to us from this headlong rush into self-destruction that we seem to be involved in at this moment in time. But that's a vision that I speak that vision, but at the same time, I dismiss it, because there is more than one outcome and we have the potential to do differently. And that's the reason why I want to bring in this notion, because we are a diverse group of people here. Even so, Jennifer and myself, we may both be Black, but we come from different places and we'll have some differences. And all of those of you who identify as white, if you were to share, you probably would find some things in common and some things that culturally are very different for each of you. Because I heard a French accent before. I don't remember who that was, but I know that Baz comes from the Netherlands. And so there's no uniform expression of what it means to be from anywhere or to be human. And we often get fooled into thinking that there is through patriotic jingoism, where a group of people identify around an issue against another group of people and never stop to talk to each other to say, are we really the same? Do we really all feel exactly the same? Honestly, they never actually examine it because our reason gets taken over by passion. Excuse me. So what I wanted to do was to do a brief kind of experiment with you all. So before I do this, this requires a bit of tech that I think I've got my head around. So let's see if this is the case. And what we would need to do for this is to go to the microphone. And if we notice that there's an arrow next to the microphone, and click that arrow, and it should take us into audio settings. And then, sorry, not audio. Is it audio settings? No. Forget what I just said. I'm doing something else. Right. Now, rewind. I'm just going to check that what I'm about to say is the truth, because if it's not, it won't work. Right. Let me ask you, Randall, do you know how to go into, I know, right. Go into videos, go into the video settings, and in the video settings, scroll down, and you should come to hide non-video participants. And if you just click that, that will make the next part possible. So you're looking for hide non-video participants. So there's an arrow at the side of the video that if you click that arrow, it will take you into video settings. And if you click video settings and scroll down, you should get to hide non-video participants. And what that does is that as soon as we turn our videos off, we disappear from everybody, which means that we will only be able to see those people who have their videos on, which is perfect because I need 6 volunteers. And I'm going to ask those 6 volunteers to keep their videos on whilst everybody else turns their videos off. So if you would like to be a volunteer, would you just let me see? Perhaps everybody except those who want to volunteer, turn off your video might be the easiest way. Okay, we're getting closer to 6. Maybe if, okay, that would do. That's fine. Right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Excellent, that's perfect. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is, first of all, to imagine a time when you were othered. And what I mean by that is a time when you felt part of a situation where you were different and you felt that everybody else felt that you were different. They may or may not have, but that's not important. What's important is you felt that way. You felt as though you didn't belong. And what I would like you to do is to just take up a pose that you feel expresses that situation. Okay, so thank you, Baz. Great, thank you, all of you. And don't worry, this is not a test of your acting ability. It's just so that you get a little flavor of what that was, and maybe how your body responded to that. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to call your name. When I call your name, I would like you to find one word, just one, to express what you were thinking at the time, what you were thinking. So let me just give you a moment to find that word. And let me begin with you, Maytal. One word to express what you were thinking at that time.
When I felt outer.
Yeah.
One word. Detached.
Detached.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's actually a feeling. So you were feeling detached, but what were you thinking?
How do I look? I don't have one word on it.
Okay, stick with those. How do I look? How do I look? Joan.
Reassurance.
Thank you. Baz?
2 words, have trust.
Thank you. Helena?
Disbelief.
Thank you. Hadil?
Authentic.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Authentics.
Thank you. Purim?
I think I misunderstood. My word was they don't understand.
Okay. Keep that. They don't understand. Benedetta?
I would say I'm wrong.
I'm wrong. Okay, excellent. So what I would like you to do now, Benedetta, is to keep that on a loop. Just keep saying, I'm wrong, I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And then whenever I call your name, just say what you said, but on a loop. And when I call your name for the second time, then stop saying it. Is everyone clear? Yeah? Okay, so do you want to begin, Benedetta?
I'm wrong. 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 I'm wrong.
Joan,
I'm
do you
wrong.
want to also say what you were saying on the loop? You keep going, Benedetta.
I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
Why is this
I'm
happening?
wrong.
Why?
I'm wrong.
Why?
I'm wrong.
Why?
I'm wrong.
Why?
I'm wrong.
Have faith.
I'm wrong.
Have faith.
I'm wrong.
Why?
I'm
faith.
wrong.
Have
I'm
faith.
wrong.
Elena.
Why?
faith.
I'm wrong.
Have faith.
I'm wrong.
Why?
I'm
Have
wrong.
faith.
I'm
Why?
wrong.
Have faith.
I'm wrong.
Have faith.
I'm wrong.
Why?
Have
I'm
faith.
wrong.
Have
Why?
faith.
I'm wrong.
Have faith.
Why?
I'm
Have
wrong.
faith.
I'm
Have
wrong.
faith.
I'm wrong.
Have faith.
I'm
Ideal.
wrong.
Have
Why?
faith.
I'm wrong.
Have
I'm
faith.
Purim, you're on
Have
mute.
faith.
wrong.
Have
Why?
I'm
faith.
They
wrong.
don't understand.
Have
They
faith.
don't
wrong.
understand.
Later.
They don't
wrong.
understand.
Have faith.
They
I'm
don't
wrong.
understand.
Why?
They
I'm
don't
wrong.
understand.
I'm
Faith.
wrong.
They don't
I'm
understand.
wrong.
Elena.
They don't
I'm
understand.
wrong.
Faith.
I'm wrong.
Have faith.
They
I'm
don't
wrong.
So when I
understand.
call your
They
name
don't
the second
I'm
understand.
time,
wrong.
Faith.
you
They don't
Have faith.
understand. They don't
Have
Baz,
faith.
I'm
understand.
wrong.
They don't understand.
I'm wrong.
Joan,
I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
Benedetta,
Why? Why?
Purim. Okay, I think you were speaking, Adil, but I can't hear you. Well, no problem. Don't worry.
You can't hear me?
Because I can hear you now. Yeah. Right now. So that was what you were thinking. Now, what about what you were feeling? So can you think of a word related to what you were thinking that describes what you were actually feeling? And we're going to speed up a little bit so that we, in the interest of time. So, Baz, do you have a word to describe what you were feeling?
Glow.
Glow. Okay, thank you. Joan.
Stress.
Thank you. Maytal?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what I felt when I spoke now.
No, how you were feeling. Now you said detached before.
Yeah, detached.
So that's your word, is it?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Helena.
Uncomfortable.
Hadil.
Courage.
Thank you. Thank you. Purim.
Sad and detached.
Sad and detached. And Benedetta.
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Excellent. So let's do the same thing again for a bit shorter. So when I call your name, just say it on a loop. So Purim.
Sad and detached, sad and detached, sad,
Helena.
sad,
Uncomfortable.
sad,
Uncomfortable.
Benedetta.
sad,
Vulnerable. Vulnerable. Vulnerable.
sad,
Vulnerable.
Glow.
sad,
Vulnerable.
Glow.
Vulnerable.
sad,
Glow.
Vulnerable.
sad,
Glow.
Vulnerable.
sad,
Vulnerable.
Glow.
Vulnerable.
Glow.
Vulnerable.
sad,
Glow.
Ideal.
Vulnerable.
Glow.
Vulnerable.
sad,
Glow.
sad,
Vulnerable.
sad,
Vulnerable.
sad,
Glow.
Vulnerable.
Glow.
Vulnerable.
sad,
Vulnerable.
Helena.
Glow.
sad,
Glow.
Vulnerable.
Glow.
Vulnerable.
Glow.
Vulnerable.
sad,
Glow.
sad,
Glow.
Helena.
sad,
Glow.
sad,
Glow.
Joan.
Glow.
sad,
Glow.
sad,
Ideal.
Glow.
sad,
Glow.
sad,
Glow.
sad,
Meta.
Glow.
sad,
Glow.
sad,
Purim.
Glow. Glow. Glow.
Benedetta.
Glow.
And Baz.
Glow.
This is very interesting because you're not all hearing me, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So don't worry, you can't get it wrong. If it is, it's fine. It's fine because this is only to demonstrate something. You are definitely all doing perfectly well. There's no wrong in this at all. So the last thing is, so we thought of thoughts. We thought of what it feels like to be othered in your particular situation and circumstance. Now, what about what you needed? What did you need at that moment? So let me just give you a moment to think. What did you need? And try to identify an authentic need. Something that would have served you right there and right then. Okay. Was there a question then? No. Okay, so let's start with you this time, Hadil. So one need that you had.
One word?
A need, yeah. One word if you can, and two if you can't.
Believe.
Belief. Meta.
To stop talking.
Stop talking. You needed to stop talking. Helena.
A joke.
Purim, so humor. Purim.
a friend,
A friend. Benedetta.
Support.
Joan.
Understanding.
And Baz.
Love.
So let's start with you now, Baz, for the loop.
Love. Love. Love.
Benedetta.
Love.
Support.
Love.
Support.
Love.
Support.
Joan.
Love.
Support. support,
understanding,
support,
understanding,
support,
understanding,
love,
support,
A joke.
love,
A joke.
love,
A
support,
joke.
love,
support,
understanding,
A
love,
joke.
support,
understanding,
support,
A
love,
joke.
support,
love,
support,
love,
support,
love,
support,
I'm
love,
pouring.
love,
A
support,
joke.
love,
A
support,
joke.
love,
support,
love,
support,
understanding,
Enough.
love,
A
support,
joke.
support,
Helena,
love,
you stop.
support,
understanding,
support,
love,
Bro.
support,
love,
support,
love,
understanding,
A joke.
support,
love.
Helena,
support,
if you stop.
I need love.
support,
I need love.
support,
Hey, Charlie, if you stop.
I need love.
support,
Joke.
Love,
support,
If you stop.
support,
love,
Joke.
support,
Joel, if you
support,
stop.
love,
support,
love,
support,
love,
A
Helena, if you
joke.
stop.
love,
support,
love,
support,
love,
support,
love.
support,
I need love.
understanding,
support,
Love,
And
support,
Baz
love,
support,
and Benedetta.
support.
Thank you so much. So everybody, you can switch your videos back on and give the participants a round of applause or show them some appreciation for that. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of the experiment. Thank you. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I wanted to illustrate that there are at least three levels to what we experience when we are interacting with a particular emotionality. Now, being othered is not an experience that is exclusive to anyone in particular. However, at the same time, it is also true to say that it would be very unlikely that anybody who is Black would not have experienced that feeling of being othered. And what I wanted us to think about is, we know that at the political level, we tend to deal with what people think, you know, about a particular action. Yeah, well, you know, if he hadn't been there, then that wouldn't have happened. Or, but I was just doing this and they did that. You know, that's basically thoughts. We also tend to, if we're deepening that, go into feelings. Well, I felt intimidated. Well, I don't feel as though you should pinpoint the finger at me and make me feel guilty for how you feel. Well, I don't think that I'm racist, but what is really meant is I don't feel like a bad person, and racism is bad. So if I'm racist, I must be a bad person, which is not actually true, because one can be a good person and be a caring person, but still partake of a system that is racist, and therefore express racism in one's actions without even being aware of it. But as to feelings, it's very rare that people actually go into, what do we need? What do we need? It's a big question. What do we need to have racial justice in this world? Well, faith is part of it. But what else? We saw when George Floyd was killed, we saw for the first time that people were actually thinking about what's needed. People were catapulted out of the usual into an almost liminal space. Something's not right here. How can this happen? In the US, which prides itself on being the land of the free and the home of the brave, how could something like this on TV, televised, filmed, how could this happen? But I can tell you that all over the world, most Black people were saying it's about time. Not how could this happen? Not this is unbelievable. But also now you see Now you can see what we've been saying all this time. And I say this, and believe you me, I definitely do not wish anybody here to be feeling guilty. However, it's a brave space and uncomfortability is allowed. Because out of uncomfortability, if one is willing to embrace that, can come wisdom. One of the things that occurred during the story was that Imani was made to feel uncomfortable multiple times. And it was only through finding love and faith, which is another way of saying finding it within Imani's self, that Imani was able to overcome each stage of the journey. Each one of us has the potential to transcend the conditioning that we have, but only if we admit the conditioning. Only if we admit the conditioning. And part of our problem as a 21st century global entity, globally connected people, is that we want to see ourselves as good people. So we don't want to look into ourselves and recognize that part of us which others, other people, that makes other people seem other. I spoke about the education system before. And I know in the UK that the only time that the curriculum brings in the experience of quote unquote Black people, and I say quote unquote because that term is a contended one amongst Black people, quote unquote Black people, is to discuss slavery, as though the history of what scientists say were the first people on this planet begins in the 16th century when Europeans went to Africa and enslaved Africans. It's almost as if the natives of Turtle Island, the First Nations or indigenous people, were not there until the Europeans discovered them. And then suddenly they said, oh, we're here now. Oh, you're an Arawak. And what, you're a Sioux? Ah, I didn't know until Europeans came that we existed. You can see it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's utterly ridiculous. However, that's the way that the children of Native America and of Africa are often made to feel, because we are invisible in the history that is taught in our school systems, except when it's to do with the Watts riots, or to do with civil rights, or to do with slavery. But what about what happened in Africa in the 12th century? You know, what happened in Africa in the 12th century BC? And I imagine, I asked this actually on LinkedIn, and I got tentative responses because we're dealing with a contentious subject. So people don't want to be offensive, which is fair enough. And, but people said things like, when I said, what was in Africa before Europe encountered it? And what did Europeans actually see with their own eyes when they went to Africa? And I got trees, all said very tentatively, houses, question mark, ... perhaps. People living with the land. No one said cities. No one said metalwork. No one said roads. No one said cavalry. No one said knights. As in, you know, knights, King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table kind of knights. No one said that because they didn't know. And they didn't know because it is not being taught. So that even, in fact, most of the quote unquote Black people in the Western world, and even in Africa, because when I've been to different African countries, I ask questions, most people don't know. They don't know. The history of Africa is invisible. And as long as the history of Africa is invisible, Black people will continue to be othered, because we are considered to be, by the system, to not quite be, well, almost, but not quite the same as everybody else, which means white people, really. Not quite the same as everybody else. But this is not only the truth in Europe or America, but it's also the truth in Asia, because people don't know. They don't know. As a fun fact, if you like, and then I'm going to move on. The fun fact is that during the enslavement era in the US and in the Caribbean, the Black people who were never enslaved were the blacksmiths. And the reason why the blacksmiths were never enslaved is because the technology of iron smelting in Africa was in advance of anything in Europe until the Industrial Revolution. So they never enslaved the blacksmiths because they needed the blacksmiths. So that's just a little doorway. And my suggestion is, please go and study more. Study more about the Africans. Study more about, if you live in the US and Turtle Island, study more about the indigenous people of that place. In fact, wherever you're from, there probably was a culture that was there before you. Study it, find out about it, because it's all part of your story, because it's part of our story. And because we are all human, not knowing about our story is a problem, because our story has within it the keys to stop planetary destruction. When the Native Americans say humans and our kin, they don't just mean people. Africans never destroyed their environment. They would build around trees, and the trees would become sacred groves often. So humanity already knows how to relate to nature. The Vikings may have been killers of humans, but they didn't destroy their environment, because they too had sacred groves, as did the ancient Britons. And probably the ancient people of every culture had this until the domination of, this is very simplified. This is a very simplified history, so I'm not claiming this as the truth. I'm just suggesting that the truth is other than we've been led to believe. The domination of patriarchy and the destruction of women's wisdom, where women were labeled witches for having herbal knowledge. And in my view, I think that the West took a masculine patriarchal view to cultures of the rest of the world. So saw them as cultures to be dominated in the same way as females in their own culture were being dominated. So the things that they met in Africa were the things that were the province of women in Europe: healing, herbalism, actual medicine, not just like a little bit of knowledge of herbs, but a real in-depth knowledge of medical herbs. Those things, when encountered in the rest of the world, were dominated by the white men who encountered them. Let me stop there, because I also don't want to other white men. So it would be a disservice for us to go away thinking, oh, those bloody white men. If it wasn't for them, the world would be a wonderful place. But actually, there is a practice called Ho'oponopono in Hawaii. And it translates as equal responsibility, meaning that if there is hatred in the world, it is because each one of us is capable of hate, not because that person over there hated somebody, but because the hate in the world is an expression of the hate in all of us. As also is the jealousy, the vengeful feelings, and also the love. That's a liberating thought, because what it means is that the love in all of us can impact all of us. So the love in me can impact you. The love in this group of people here can impact more than this group of people here. In fact, Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world. In fact, it is the only thing that ever has changed the world. And I wanted to bring this concept to you, which may feel like a bit of a diversion from the purely feeling kind of journey and experience that we were having. But because what I found in myself and in the people around me is that it's possible for me to have a spiritual path. It's possible for me to pray, meditate, not eat certain things and observe certain taboos and still hate people. Eckhart Tolle said, if you go and meditate on the holy mountain in the Himalayas, eat rarefied food, and breathe in pure air, and you stay there as an enlightened being for 10 years, go and spend a weekend with your family, then you'll find out whether you're really enlightened. Because your family don't care that you were there for 10 years. They just know you as they know you. And they will press all those buttons that they pressed before. And so what I would like to leave you with in the twilight moments of this conversation is to have faith in yourself. Have faith in the awareness that you are enough. Have faith in the reality that your culture is your culture, but it doesn't define your beingness. It adds to it, it flavors it. But if your culture has committed atrocities, that doesn't mean that you're atrocious. Just as if your culture was a very loving one, doesn't necessarily mean that you are very loving. You have limitless potential, limitless potential. And having faith in that, even when things seem dark and distressing, even when somebody like me says, well, racism is real and I feel this way about it, have faith in your humanity in terms of humanity as a being space of evolutionary potential. That's what I believe that all of us here actually know to some degree in some way. And we've reached the end of this particular iteration of this series. And I really want to give gratitude to you all. I really feel a sense of humble gratitude that you're willing to listen, that you are willing to share, some of you have been more than once. And it gives me a sense of, it renews my sense of purpose of speaking into the truths that I perceive, in the hope that one or two people will be touched and perhaps speak into their own truths, not my truths, speak into their own truths. And if that happens with even one of you, then I feel that I'll have done my work well. So thank you so much. I really look forward to seeing you again next time, at least some of you, and I have so much love for you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sola. It's always just so beautiful and such a pleasure to have you here with us. So thank you so much. And we invite everyone back. I think it's on May 3rd. The emails, you'll all receive emails. And I think the title is When All Seems Lost, the Power of Affirmation and Intention. So we welcome you all back at that on May 3rd. And thank you again, everyone, for coming. Sola, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you, Lisa, for making it possible. And Randall, who is an unsung hero who keeps this happening so that we can go into breakout rooms and do all the tech stuff that we do. So gratitude to you both. Thank you. Take care, people. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are and whatever time it is. Thank you. Hopefully I'll see you all soon.